Welcome to the Whiskey Vault. I'm Daniel Whittington, Chancellor of Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School. Today we're talking about looking foolish and drinking Dalmore Cigar Malt. Because I want to. If I can get it open and not cut myself like I did last time. So, one of the biggest, oh Lord, it came apart in a piece. One of the biggest obstacles to doing anything great or anything interesting is our fear of looking foolish or sounding foolish or saying the wrong thing or screwing up. I talked about this before. It's one of the reasons we hate public speaking as a culture or as people. There was a quote that said, public speaking is everyone's worst fear as a general, followed by death, which means more, I can't remember who said this quote, which means in any given talk in a room, everybody would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. So I was a drummer for the first part of my music life. I picked up guitar in high school when I discovered it was hard to write love songs for your girlfriend on drums. And got good at guitar and started a band and started writing music. But my first career touring on the road, really going for it, was as a drummer. And then I played drums for a long time after that. So drums were my first thing. When I went through a few bands and tours, and then I moved and I came back and I started a band with three of my oldest friends in the world and still my best friends in the world and still my favorite band that I've ever been in. And I was the front man of this one because the drummer, my friend Ryan, was a way better drummer than me. So I was writing the songs, lead singer and guitar. And our first few shows, I realized I'd only ever been a frontman on like acoustic guitar, acoustic shows. And that's a very different vibe than being the frontman of a rock and roll band, which is what we were. We were kick the door down, riff, rock, electric, two electrics, bass, drums, hell yeah. And you can hear all of this album. It's called Rhodes, R-H-O-D-E-S. It's on Bandcamp. If you Google Daniel Whittington Bandcamp or Rhodes, R-H-O-D-E-S Bandcamp, the album's called Half a Mind to Stay. This is that album that was created in that. I was trying to figure out, what do I do? And how do I not look stupid on the front? Like, what does a front man do? I'm up there in the front. I don't have drums behind, and like, I'm just there. And some songs I just had a microphone, not a guitar. And I was like, I don't even know what to do with myself. And so I started watching videos of live shows of other artists and bands. And I had this realization watching U2 one time that, there was this video that came out where they were doing a mole digging in a hole, excavation. Yeah. Anyway, it was just Bono and The Edge, and two of them, and they had a sheet hanging, I think, on a wall. And The Edge was playing banjo. And so he's playing the song on banjo. It was the stupidest thing. And we did with straight face. And then Bono was going full Bono. He's like crawling on the ground and like hanging on the edge. And he's going like he is in a stadium. And the thought popped in my head, he is such a dork. That is such a goober. Like, that is so dumb. Except it wasn't, though. It was so rock and roll. Because your brain just accepted that this was supposed to happen, and it's Bono, and it's rock. And then I started watching the stadium shows, and I thought, if you look at what Bono's doing, and I started looking at all these. You look at Led Zeppelin, and you look at what Jimmy Page was doing, or, or Robert Plant, or you look at, look at the Rolling Stones and how Mick Jagger dances while he sings. You look at any of these people, take away the microphone and the massive stadium audience, and what they're doing looks absurd. It looks ridiculous. It looks totally goofball and foolish. But it works because this full, all-in, I don't care what people think, confidence is magnetic, right? I think that's the greatest fear of a lot of new whiskey drinkers. Right? That you don't want to order wrong. You don't want to say the wrong thing at the bar. You don't want the bartender to make fun of you. You don't want to You don't want other whiskey drinkers to make fun of you. You don't want to go in a Facebook group and ask a question. Everyone say, oh, stupid, you don't know anything about whiskey. That was one of the reasons we started the Whiskey Tribe Facebook group, and the Whiskey Tribe community was to fight against this sort of like snobbery of like putting people in their place for lack of knowledge. This is really just an admonition to don't be afraid to look silly. And I'm going to clarify this again more, but first we're going to drink Dalmore Cigar Malt. This was one of these things actually in the category, and I'm going to own it, that sometimes makes me feel a little self-conscious. But I love Dalmore. And I know the nerds hate Dalmore, and they use E150A a lot, maybe the most in the industry. And I love, the snobs all like to talk Dalmore. I don't care. I love whiskey. I started getting into really nerding out on whiskey probably in the 2003s on. And by the time I moved back to Texas in 2009, I was full-fledged, all in studying, reading, testing, doing WSET, like really figuring out whiskey. I hadn't found the Academy yet. There was a restaurant chain in Austin called Opal Divines. That was one of my all-time favorite bars, and they had an amazing whiskey collection. And once a year, they did a whiskey event where like 40 brands came to Opal Divines, and they took over the whole restaurant bar and converted it into a whiskey venue with tables, and you could pay a little extra and get this like special ticket where you got to pour from the VIP table. It was like $20. Everything went to charity. And I went to the Dalmore table. I went to the VIP table, and they were pouring King Alexander, which was amazing, and the cigar malt, and then like a bunch of other things. Well, I like cigars, and my dad and I had brought cigars, and I handed my ticket, and I was like, I want to pour of that cigar malt. And they poured me this, and I loved it. It was my first really sherry scotch forward experience, and still a little smoke, and I just loved it, and I still remember that, and I still have this affection for Dalmore because of it. And then I got really into whiskey and discovered everyone, it's cool to not like Dalmore. Well, screw you guys. I like Dalmore. And I love the cigar malt. This is a blend of ex-bourbon, Cabernet Sauvignon red wine barriques, and Gonzalez bypass sherry casks that held 30-year-old Matasolam Oloroso sherry. Ah, the nose is so sherry, but it's also a little meaty. It's Christmas, it's dates and figs, it's raisin bread, it's brown sugar buttercream, it's aromatic pipe tobacco. I know it says cigar smoke, but it's cedar box, it's earthy, it's petrichor and rain. I love the nose on this. The palate not as great and magnificent as the nose is, but not as big a disparity as I usually get in Macallan. It's softer. It's a lot more sweet. And you know what? Drinking it neat, it's a little too sweet for me. But that's the thing. Drinking this with a cigar is great. I love it. I'm out a little water, even though it's only 40, like really low. I don't remember what it is, and I keep forgetting my glasses for these videos. Stupid glasses. I don't see the proof. Did I tear the proof off when I tore off the cap on the top? Anyway, it had to be on that. That's bizarre. Nope. That's odd. Okay, anyway, it's low proof, but it still has a decent palate. It's soft. It's a little simpler than I'd like. It doesn't linger. The oils don't cling as much as I'd really like them to, but it's still really nice. And with a cigar, whew, I'm gonna add just a dash of water to this thing. Now, I should have thrown it on the floor in honor of Richard Patterson, but whatever. What happens when you get better at ignoring that feeling of feeling foolish? Tell you what, I got a crash course in it when we started shooting the YouTube videos. I have never been so aware of being wrong in my whole life as saying something slightly incorrect on YouTube and having 40 people be like, ha ha, stupid, you don't know whiskey. And I did not handle it easily. Like, I mean, I didn't have a meltdown or anything, but it bothered me. It stuck, I was like, dang it. If you want to watch all of my biggest mistakes that are slightly embarrassing, they're all recorded for all time on this YouTube channel. Most of, like, And all my big life mistakes, most of them are on camera for all of you to catch. And then I just stopped trying. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to mispronounce. I don't care anymore. And I started having a lot more fun when I just stopped caring what some internet person was going to fix or correct or check me on. I have also found that with noses, it's waxed walnuts comes to the front with water in the nose. Opens. Oh, and the palate. Get some black pepper. Oh, a little dash of water, and this improved. This is great. Okay. I have a theory. This is a really weird theory, and it is not based on anything other than my own personal experience, which is the worst kind of science, but I'm going to share it. I am friends with a lot of Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. Disproportionate, I think, to the normal non-Jehovah's Witness population. I have found, I worked for a Jehovah's Witness at one point for a whole year, and I have found, and this is a stereotype-esque, in the JW community, there is a disproportionate number of entrepreneurs related to any other group of people. And one of my theories is that because they have to do service hours, and they have to go door to door, and they have to do things like that, they have been practicing embarrassment and feeling foolish and rejection on a weekly basis their whole lives. They have, at some level, inoculated themselves to that embarrassment and foolish feeling foolish, right? And that gives you courage. Once you are not afraid to look dumb or afraid what people think or afraid what a stranger might say about you, oh, that's courage, my friend. That's courage. Guess what entrepreneurs need? Right? The people who are afraid of screwing it up or going bankrupt or putting in their life savings and it doesn't work, or like going to their family reunion or gathering at Christmas and not being rich yet. And they're like, when are you going to get a real job? You know, I know you went to school for this, or I know you really love music, or I know you like whiskey, but you know, I mean, come on, where's your 401k? Right? It's rough. And it can be embarrassing, and you can feel stupid, like you're making all the wrong life choices. And those groups have a lot of practice at dealing with those feelings, and it shows. They do much better in that weird, nebulous gray area of entrepreneurism. When you mess up a lot on camera, and it's all captured, and you're willing to put yourself out there in life, you're gonna. Let me put it this way. I'm gonna change that. If you're willing to put yourself out there and look foolish, you will mess up more than most people because you're going to be on the front edge. It won't be perceived. It'll be real. You will actually mess up more than most people who are playing it safe. But you will also discover and achieve and accomplish and learn so many things that those people will never even touch because you were willing to put it out there and be a little foolish and be thought foolish by certain people who don't matter to you anyway. One of my favorite things that someone said to me was, if you wouldn't take their advice, don't take their criticism. And we should all remember that. Cheers to you, and I'm really glad you're here. My only criticism is that you have not yet liked and subscribed, and my advice is that you should like and subscribe.